Now, our next guest is best known for his edgy, straight-talking style on his daily radio programme. However, his first love and lifelong passion is music. And although it's taken a while, he's finally released his debut album. It's called Hang the Moon, and it's receiving rave reviews. Now, Krista Berg has said that the title track moved him to tears, while Ronan Hardiman, the man behind the music from Lord of the Dance, said it made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. We're joined this morning by News Talk's lunchtime presenter, Eamon Keane. Good morning, sir. You're very welcome.
Morning, Mark. Great to be here.
Now, tough day for you, and it's actually very interesting because this should be a hugely joyous day for you because you're fulfilling a lifelong dream, but it's tinged with tragedy, and the title track of the album actually has a huge kind of emotional and personal significance for you as well.
It was actually, well, yesterday was, I would say, one of the hardest. I thought it was going to be the worst gigs of my life because a great friend of mine, Dr. Roy Lahan, and
to whom the album is dedicated.
Yeah, to whom it's dedicated. Yeah, we buried him yesterday, and hi to Jack and all the gang.
And you had to sing this.
I sang it during the church, and I was really nervous beforehand, but Rory was an amazing spirit, great piano player, great fun. Like your dad, Mark, one of the first people to teach me piano was your dad.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Up to the house, and like your dad was inventing things. He was an amazing mind, and he'd bring me in, and he liked me because I was very scatty. So when I sat down at the piano, I think it reminded him a bit of himself.
You would have had a lot in common. Actually, speaking of our antecedents, for those who don't know, your name is Keane, obviously, and people will go, okay, anything to that? Yes, obviously. Your father was Eamon, maybe one of the most gifted actors the country has ever produced. I remember when I was in RT, people used to talk in hallowed and hushed tones about some of his performances, notably, I think, Diary of a Madman, which he did in one take live.
It's incredible. Which I think an hour and a half. He got a Jacobs Award for it, and people take cuts now while you do it live, but straight an hour and a half. And he had this amazing voice. This really deep resonant
I met him
voice.
quite a few times. A lovely gentleman, but a very troubled man, and I don't know whether you want to discuss that or not. The other thing it has to be said is that his performance in Playboy with Siobhan McKenna is considered the definitive performance of it. So there's your dad. There's your uncle, of course, is obviously John B. Your brother is Fergal, from our foreign correspondent. And your mother, Maura, who's also a very gifted musician as well. So I suppose it was preordained and predestined that you would have some creative endeavour, or that's the path you would follow.
Definitely. My mother was a very good classical pianist, and she made me go to the lessons, and I hated going to lessons, but thank God she did. John B. wrote loads of songs like Many Young Men at 20, which is relevant today with emigration. And then my dad's voice. And I suppose the storytelling, because all my cousins, cousin John, Connor, Billy, they're all great storytellers. So I think in the songs, and the songs aren't about Highway 69 in the States, they're about people I've met, about people I've experienced.
But I mean, Irish people shouldn't be singing about Highway 66.
They do, though.
They should be singing about the boring down the road, because that is. Right, okay, so it was always predestined that you do something creative. When did the music emerge? Did that start very early?
It started really early. My mum had a piano, and I used to pick out Chopin and Beethoven by ear. And then I went to the School of Music and got scholarships, and I got a scholarship to a college in the States.
Did you go to Berkeley?
18, yeah. I was meant to go and I didn't go. Fear. I was afraid to go, Mark.
Would you not? Would that be one of the great missed opportunities, you think?
No, not at all.
Really?
The way life worked out. And even the title song, that is about the only regret I would ever have in my life, say, would pertain to my father. But the other things, no, not at all. Because I met an amazing bunch of people by not going to the States, including the aforementioned Rory and other great friends as well.
Now, I mean, for somebody who's had a lifelong passion for it, and who is a very talented musician, because to be honest with you, and I can say this because he's my father, he wouldn't have given you the time of day unless he thought you had something. You'd have been going, yeah, that's lovely. I tell you what, stay in the audience is where you belong, because that's what he said to me. As you know, he was lovely, but he could also be brutal. How come it took you so long to get the record together?
I think I had that kind of, we mentioned earlier, like your dad had the scattiness. I had so many different things I want to do. Like, I love doing radio. I love doing the lunchtime show and News Talk. And the station is flying. We're going great. And I love that. And I also worked with kids for years, Mark, as well, which has formed the basis of some of the songs.
You did counselling as
well? Yeah, I worked
in
psychology, and I lectured in UCC and did a postgrad in guidance and counselling there. I think maybe because of my own experiences, it gave me an eye out for kids and that they do need help. And like hearing that story about that girl in the States this morning, Phoebe, that poor girl, that kids need to be talked to, they need to be listened to. It's vital. It's amazing we're here with the government taking plans with banks, which they have to do. But what about a plan for people, to hear people?
We're only there. We're only useful to pay the bills that they rack up on our behalf. But anyway, look, people will obviously you've got a platform, you have a kind of a constituency, so people say, well, what kind of music? Now, I know obviously with your mother there's classical. I know obviously if you're dealing with my father, it had to be jazz.
Yeah.
So is this a combination of all of that, or is there other...
It's bits of all of it, and like I'm lucky, I suppose, because I did improvise a lot. I sort of got, you know, I hate when Americans say I got my own sound, but I do have my own sound on piano. I don't copy anybody, you know, and it's a mixture of, I suppose, Tom Waits, Randy Newman, the Beach Boys, Bach, Debussy, all of them thrown in together with my own particular flavour. And that comes across. And Frank McNamara, who you know, Mark,
very well.
you've done sessions
Wonderful
down
musician.
there. With the Devils
And
down.
Julie Feeney, who's an extraordinary
Julie is a beautiful singer, great. Like, check out her music. Julie sang backing vocals, and we played her "Hang the Moon," the song, and she turned around to me and said, "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard," which was some compliment coming from her. And I have to mention another Corkman, Mark, a fella called Leslie Buckley, the Haven charity.
Actually,
who
yeah,
were doing
funds from this are going to that, aren't they?
Yeah, and Leslie's an amazing guy. I mean, and it's always a hard sell for any charity, but people saw what happened in Haiti. So we're giving part of the proceeds to Haven Charity, and hi to all Louise and all the gang there as well, because they do amazing work.
Okay, yeah. We've only actually scratched the surface. I'd love to talk to you about what it's like being a Keane and the legacy and the weight of that, and try to find your own identity.
No, do you know what? It's great. As my father used to say to me, the Keanes, he said, "You have a lot to live down to now."
Well, I think he'd be wherever he is somewhere. I hope he's got a nice point and he's smiling benignly and enjoying this, because I think this will give him a lot of pleasure. And given that the song is about him or for him, I think.
Definitely. And it's funny, I say hello to my mum, Mark, this morning, who's been ill, and she's had major surgery, and I've been up and down. And this is especially for her.
Okay, well look, the album is called Hang the Moon. This is the title track, and Eamon, we've got a backing track which is about to start, and Eamon, in your own time, sir, off you go.
When I didn't hang the moon, I didn't paint the clouds. So when you're coming round again, remember I didn't hang the moon. It's true, I've walked upon your ground, and times love wasn't found. When you're coming round again, remember I didn't hang the moon. Know the tears you keep inside. I've seen those scars you've tried to hide. Just because I don't call your name doesn't mean that I don't know your pain.